Welcome again, everyone. Jerry's Old Guy Review and another edition of Table Talk, brought to you this week by Double X Mic, slightly more user-friendly than Triple X Mic. So, Mike asks what I would call a loaded question for me. So, Mike, questioning on RTRs, what would I get between the Phoenix and the Fordyce? Also between Phoenix Fordyce, Axial CJ7. Well, as you guys can see, I don't have one yet, but it's in the works. But meanwhile, I do have an SCX10 III. While this is not on the same caliber, it came as a ready to run. But we all know from past videos and the build video that it doesn't live there anymore. But what I was going to do for Mike, we are going to discuss the loaded part of the questions. Now, my Phoenix is a build. The Phoenix build actually didn't come with the electronics. So we'll discuss the electronics. We'll discuss the Fordyce. And then we're all done. We're taking the tops off and we're going to compare some of the features. So the first is price. Now, the SCX10 III has some different models, and on some of the kits, there are things I like about all the other SCX10 IIIs that's not the same on the CJ7. So, first, if we go, the CJ7 kit is $499.99. The Gladiator kit is $529.99. And then you can get the other Wrangler for $499.99. And then you get the base camp for $389.99. So the standard SCX10 III comes with dig, comes with 2-speed transmission. Now, to use those functions, you have to make that decision there. So the dig is active, the 2-speed is inactive. You have to disassemble the vehicle to make the 2-speed work. So, say on this truck, you've just spent $529 and you have to buy another servo if you want all the doodads. And then you have to disassemble the truck. So right off the bat, you're ripping your truck apart. Now, the tires that come, once again, I don't know about the CJ7, but ready to run tires. Vanquish, in my opinion, right now makes the best ready to run tire with their new red compound. The Fordyce, these tires are incredibly good. But we're getting away. SCX10s, 3. So this truck I bought just because you all know my feelings about Wranglers. Well, the Gladiator, this truck, I gotta keep my notes handy. This truck just looks good. The real ones, not so much. But this truck looks good. So I decided when this came out, I started hearing all the things that were breaking on them. So without actually testing them, but I did have comments in the section when this truck came onto the scene on the channel who were confirming some of the breakages. So the pitman arm, I don't know why. I always call it by the full size. It's not a pitman arm. It is the panhard mount was breaking. Breaking at the body up here, breaking at the hub. So we address that right off the bat with parts from Yow Racing, Samix. Actually, the one cross mount is from Bauhaus RC. Considering what the Samix metal parts for the panhard gives you more shock options, very inexpensive. And that came build quality on everything else on this truck. I have, after all this weight, all this additions that were put on this truck, nothing has broke. There is plenty of Axial stuff still. None of that stock Axial stuff has broken. You know, I still go back to the one experience, Traxxas. I've had Traxxas for years, since back in the 90s. Never under normal driving circumstances have I broken anything. But I got a Slash LCG, low center of gravity kit when it first came out with the sound system. The sound system went tits, along with almost every weight carrying, load carrying part on that truck. But almost every one of those broken parts, when I looked at where they broke, had imperfections in the molds. So, yes, some people can have a bad day in a factory when there's no quality control. Or quality control came later and you can't see inside. So, that was the only, my other two slashes, 3, 4 slashes I've had, have never broke. I've stripped things, I've stripped drive shafts, I've stripped pinion gears that I didn't mesh them properly when I went into them. I was getting excited with brushless. But off topic, this truck, noisy. The gears, I went in there and took the gears apart and lubed it up with a little thicker weight oil, quieted it down. There was a complaint on a ticking gear issue. Maybe my thick oil cured that problem. But this truck, I've had it for years now. I've had it since it first came out. And gears hold up. Differentials, you know, 2, 3S, rock crawler. It's a little peppy, but not as peppy as it would be with a 2-speed. But meanwhile, there it is. I bought it to use it as a trail crawler. So it still blows my mind. I can't figure out where these people are blowing these rigs up. I mean, literally, except for my one story. You know, I've got a couple rigs, and I've had a lot of these rigs for years. And I don't overpower them. I don't do stupid shit with them. So I like to think that I test these trucks long term, doing what the designers designed for it. They didn't design them to put 4S in them and then they go friggin', which it does sound fun. You know, go rally it off a cliff somewhere and then blame the truck for breaking. It's not a good comparison. So we covered the 2-speed disassembly. It comes with inner fenders, which in this day and age is what a lot of people look for. Axial, in my opinion, sells, it's been this way since the beginning. If you break something on this truck, you know, you used to be able to call Axial and they used to hook you up. Now, not so much. But meanwhile, if you don't want to go through customer service or any of that BS. Axial sells the most reasonable replacement parts. Their house brand, the same parts that are in your vehicle, you can't go wrong with the price. That's why when it comes to bodies, interior bits, if I want to do a project, I'm heading first to Axial stuff. It's just very reasonable. And Axial's been around a long time. So let's see, we're covering prices, we're covering parts quality and price availability. Axial, best price for their own stuff. Tons. You can go to the one company, that's a little expensive, and you can scroll right to the next one and you're like, that's a little better. Because, there's still product support for the original SCX10. And now you've got the 2 and the 3, which still, the 2 is my favorite of Axial trucks of all time. That's the one I have the most of. Right, what do I got? 3 or 4 of them. Oh, there's one. Look, Nick, still on there, going strong. And then I just decided, don't tell my daughter. She moved, but she left her SCX-10-2 that I built for her here. So, might have a project coming up. One of those thoughts of what ties this video together is you can take the 2 and you can buy parts for it to turn it into a VS410 pretty inexpensively. I think the conversion kit's $100. So let's go through some of the prices again on the SCX-10-3. They've got the kit still, so you could get the kit for $349.99. You can get the JLU. It's not a CJ, so I don't know what these numbers are for Jeeps. $499.99. CJ7, $499.99, but that is a ready to run. Very weird. Gladiator again, $529. The Base Camp, $389 as a kit. The Base Camp, ugly body, but to me holds the DNA of the original Axial vehicles. Single speed, lock diffs, Bob's your uncle. So, I think, let me know some more, Mike, if that covers. I'm going to say right off the bat, here we go. So, in the world right now as we exist, if I didn't have Fordyce, didn't have the Phoenix, still was in the dark about Vanquish, being that I own a 1-to-1 1977 CJ7, looking at the 3 of them together, I would buy the CJ7. Because it's going to have, hopefully, what I expect from Axial. Lock diffs, 1 or 2 speed transmission, and it's going to be very, very well detailed. From my understanding of the CJ7 right now, you take it out of the box, it's an excellent trail rig. The details, fabulous. Size, not quite so much. But if it comes down to you are buying it for running it with your buddies, competition style, you are going to tear that new body right up. It's got some issues. It's got some geometry issues. And that is one of the biggest things I've always combated here is side to side, flip it over. Those are, see how far the truck can go, but I'm not going to buy a truck just for the look and then ignore that it is basically a trail truck, unless that's exactly what I want for it. I don't care how it's going to climb. I don't care what it's going to do, but that's not how I roll. I get one of these and I want to see what I can do with it. And that's what it's going to come down to with the CJ7. I don't know. Let me look at these again. So these this truck has these emulsion style shocks on it, which, man, when I put the lower weight and fiddled with them, I hated them when I first got them. But these shocks are excellent. They have a ton of travel, but then they're just so soft. This truck just goes where it wants to go. The roll is right where it needs to be. So these are shorter than the shocks that are on the 7. I would want to get some of these shocks and put them on there. That's where I would try first. But being that I haven't messed with it, I don't want to badmouth it too bad. But my trucks have to have a bit of both. And unfortunately, Axial is notorious for the tires just never perform. This truck, even once I put all the weight on it, and I soaked the OEM, what the heck were those? Wild, I think they were like Wild Peaks also. I just had them out. What did I do with them? Yeah, lost. I tried the WD-40 trick of soaking them in WD-40 while I was doing the wheels and everything on this. Put the weight in them. Just horrible. Just as horrible, actually, the tires that came with the Phoenix kit were the most horrible. But we're not talking about kits, we're talking about ready to runs. So, again, you're going to weigh that. A lot of performance really looks good. Those are the two. When it comes to Axial, that's what you usually get. And I'm going to tell you, because I have watched the videos on that. I have this and I have the 6, the SCX6. Both got Wrangler bodies on them. Both are the biggest pains in the ass to take off. You know, you got to fiddle with them every time to put them back in. You got to put the 4 pins back in. You know, I want to get out there and go. And then God help you if you're out in a crawling thing and you have to take it all apart. So there's another, check that off, ease of taking the body off to do maintenance or do anything like that. It is a pain. Now, I have been told I need to get the Dremel out and trim the inner fender wells. Maybe that's going to help it out. So there you go, Mike. That is with the SCX-10-3, which is the CJ7. Now, let's move that over and get to the Fordyce / Phoenix, because there is a lot of similarities. So when you get the Fordyce compared to the Phoenix, first off is the body. The body on the Phoenix, you know, I don't know how they did it. I guess I'd have to measure, possibly hood. Cab is still pretty big. You know, I prefer the Phoenix body to the Fordyce, even though I got the Fordyce mainly for the body. And then also for the radio that then I got yelled at on the comments. But Fordyce, I didn't pull the body off of this while we were talking about it, but if I decide I'm taking the dogs out at night and I want to run a rig real quick, boom, battery in, back together to use one hand. I got it, perfect. The Fordyce is actually better than the Phoenix for putting the body back on, but boom, 2 pins in the back, done. This to me is, why doesn't everybody do this? This is just fabulous. And you know, they both do it. And it's just so nice that they do. Oh, now, I was getting off topic in my brain a little bit, so I was looking at stuff. Because it's hilarious. Oh, never mind. We're not going to get into that right now. These Wild Peak red compound tires are the best ready-to-run tires I've ever seen. This thing, if you watch the drive video at 10 below, this tire right here actually froze while it was pushing the truck up. And I was sitting for a few minutes. It froze and kept driving the rest of the day at 10 below. Not a problem. So now here is what gets everyone going. So this truck, $459.99. It has just the VFD transmission, not the twin. Comes with a pretty decent radio, which it says Vanquish on it, but it is technically a rebanded Turbo Racing P52, which is a very inexpensive radio, but again, like Hobby Wing, people have been trying them, buying them on Amazon, which for some reason you can't find it on Amazon right now. Probably because I was going to go off about Vanquish in a video until I reached out to them to find out when the kits were coming back. And they did. Prices are raised, but the straight axle, or that's actually the portal kit. So that's pretty fun because now I've got two Vanquish's straight axles. And there we go again. Here's another good comparison. SCX10, portals. Phoenix Vanquish straight axles. So that's another thing to think about. $459 straight axle. You'd still have to, we went over this in the comments too. So the VFD transmission, you can buy a piece to install the dig on there. But it's such a funny tease that they include on the Fordyce, they include the holder for the dig. And let me see, because I actually have it under, is it go underneath? Where is that stupid thing at? Oh, yeah, it's on the actual housing of the transmission, which we'll cover. But it's a piece that you can remove the transmission and add it to it. It is not able to just be activated like these originally came out and they were telling everyone they had. So here's your biggest comparison. This is really the only difference between the Fordyce and the Phoenix is the transmission. VFD twin, so you can have dig, you can have overdrive. Fordyce just has the VFD transmission, which is phenomenal because SCX10, we're getting ahead of ourselves. The VFD transmission sits low. The engine is mounted on the bottom of the transmission, low. So these vehicles right out of the box, especially with the F10 differentials, all excellent components. They have, how did the company get along selling $700 rigs for so long? Their inner components were durable. Oh, heat. So lots and lots of aftermarket support. The best thing I like about them is a lot of times with the Vanquishes, especially the kits, their deals are they will throw metal at it. This Phoenix came with a complete, it already had some metal gears in it, but the transfer case was basically plastic. Came with all the metal gears. This truck is a little bit noisy because it is full of nothing but metal. So, but back to the Fordyce, the fit and finish. Building this Phoenix kit and knowing that those are the exact same components that are coming on this, fit and finish was excellent. Quality so far, I've driven both of these trucks, sub-zero temperatures. I'm not worried about them in the heat as much as, you know, the cold. And for me, plastic, that has always been the torture test I put them through. Spend an hour outside at -10, climbing up rocks, rolling down things, seeing how they do. Rolling them through the snow so we extra get those parts cold. Durability test. Nothing on this truck has even remotely shown anywhere. The ready to run shocks that come on this are, you know, some people have said bad things, but meanwhile, I haven't had any experience. None of these shocks leaked on this one. One of them did. I built those shocks. These shocks on this Fordyce came built. Oh, actually, I'm lying. I got one little leaker. There's a little bit of leaking on. Oh, the same exact shock that I missed in. Crazy. So, if you're going to buy just a truck for trailer, let's just look at it. CJ, licensed body, looks really good. Fordyce, non-licensed body, still with Jeep. Retro, more of a modern version. You know, it'd be nice. Jeep has a full interior. Fordyce, I haven't seen one yet. Phoenix, you can get a full interior for it. Fordyce, you can go to Harley Designs, his Shapeways page, and get a free file to make one, but not available. These, you can get these bodies and these interiors pretty regular. No interior, tons of aftermarket support. Everybody makes parts for these, and unlike the Axial where you can get the OEM parts cheaper, you know, when it comes to Vanquish, you'd probably want to start looking at some of the aftermarket companies before, just because, you know, they do make better parts. But if it comes down to, if you bought this because it was $459 compared to $499, $529, you know, you might be slightly price conscious. So if you bought it just for that, a lot of these bits and pieces, you know, if you're going with plastic parts, they're not going to be as bad on Vanquish, but any of their other parts, because they do include a lot of metal. So if you buy the Axial on a budget kind of deal, you've been saving your money up for it, good aftermarket support, a lot less inexpensive, or a lot more inexpensive. Vanquish, if you get it and you're not happy with things, the performance parts are all going to be a lot more expensive. The Phoenix, being the same thing, the only difference is the transmission. So, and oh crap, you know what? I didn't look. Is the Phoenix, oh no, wait a minute. I think I screwed up. I didn't look at something. And I'm sorry guys, there's just a lot of things to cover. This is just such a question that I couldn't, Mike, you just blew my mind out of thinking of this. What would I do? But for those of us who have watched me for long enough would know that I would just instantly go to, I'd get the CJ7. But now that I've been welcomed into the Vanquish world, that it's a harder question. And after building, I mean, if they didn't have these kits, that's what I chapped my ass when I couldn't find a kit, because I've got two straights I wanted the portal. And it just blew my mind that I reached out to Vanquish, and within a day, had my answer. Because then first I was asked, you know, which kits am I talking about? And that's it, the Phoenix. Both Phoenix kits. Mainly the Portal one. Because I wanted to know, I wanted to build another one. What am I looking at here? Why is it not showing it yet? Oh, am I going to have to spell it perfectly? Sorry guys, this is just me being horrible right here. Let's go. Where is it? Where is it? So there's the kit. Yeah, $119.99 just for the plastic kit, plastic axles. Okay, so both Phoenixes are straight axles. Okay. Weird. So, okay, so back to things. So, you know, that would almost be, why didn't we make one of these a Portal kit? But they do have the Portal kit. And I'm assuming the way these are is you can probably, they're going to be pricey. You can buy the axles to make it a Portal. But, you know, looking at these guys together, this is a Portal, but meanwhile now the way I've got it set up, it sits just like a straight axle. But being a child of the straight axles, it's just like my leaf sprung vehicles. Straight axle driving is another level. And I really like driving straight axles over Portals, but then again, I'm that child that when there's a mud puddle, I want to drive my Portals through it, getting more ground clearance, seeing how deep I can go. So, there's a plus too. So these are all the kind of titty bit things that you have to take into account. Scale and ability. Ability with a little bit of scale. Ability, more ability with a lot more scale. So those are the three biggest things to me. But the main one is ability and detail. I would love to see a perfect mixture of them, but when you get into full detail or full interiors and things like that, performance is going to suffer because you have to work around that. Instead of the chassis dictating the body dictating the chassis means you're going to miss out on some things. But let me see. But that is still, you know, unfortunately, Mike, that is the answer for me. Being a CJ guy, in this current world, had I not built this kit for Vanquish, Vanquish would still have been, Vanquish, I don't know. But since I built this kit, then I wanted the lower version of this. The initial idea was build this with all the doodads, buy this for the radio to swap them, to have all my doodads, and then come to find out I can spend 30 or 40 bucks and get that same radio. So that's kind of out the window. But let's do, make sure there's anything plugged in. Of course it is. On top of performance parts, I had to put all kinds of pretty stuff in here. So that one's off. Oh, now these I pre-planned. So here's your pin that just has a body post in it, or a body pin. And then bada bing, put that over to the side. Same thing with this one. And now I can do it pretty much. Well, what am I grabbing? Not the right thing. Boom. Unplug the lights. Okay. So I'm going to come over and grab the camera, and we are going to sit, or we're going to try to wrap it up since we're getting a little long-winded here. And then I get to show you some of my ugly wiring, because I've got so many wires in this truck. I've got all the doodads hooked up. So put this one over here, and this one's got a ton of lights. It's even got some extra lights. And I had to make, for the first time ever, a handy dandy doodadder. Oh, there's my baby, who may or may not have some buns in the oven. Horrible. All right, so Vanquish Phoenix Fordyce SCX10 3. So here we go. Fenders, rock lights. Fenders, rock lights. Actually, the Phoenix, I bought the light kit. So if you buy the light kits, $50, you will have some outrageously bright headlights and rock lights and tail lights. But for some reason, they have all their extra doodads that plug into it. So, 1080 in this baby with the Spectrum radio came out of something. Vanquish Hobby Wing. Of course, this is, I believe, was a 1060. So here's their little setup steering servo. You could still put in a servo winch. Same thing over here, but I put my button in there. This is where they get you. Nothing here. VFD transmission. Very capable. And let's see here. Oh. So the engine is down here. The VFD transmission sits low in the chassis anyways, whereas the SCX10 3 sits high. Engine up high. I took all these motor covers and stuff they had on this. Why put it in there if you can't see it? Flick this over here. People have made jokes when I bring up the magic blue smoke. I put a 5-channel radio in here because there's 4 channels on this. There's the shift servo. That is, once I put in the radio that I could adjust this, then it smokes. So, haven't put the new one in. Here is the arm for the 2-speed that you have to go inside. You have to pull this whole transmission out. Go in there. Take there's a little plastic doodad on it. Take it off. Put it all back together again. And then set up your trims and whatnot to hopefully make it shift right. A lot of room on this truck since this is the long wheelbase. A lot of room to add things. I put the battery back here because there's so much weight up front. I put the battery back here to kind of offset it. I put so many lights in this that I had to run an extra battery for the lights. Meanwhile, VFD, you get these fuel tanks on both of them. Well, I just called it the VFD. You can put things in here. There's a lot of room in these fuel tanks, but the Fordyce, as you can see, you still got tons of room in here. I'm pretty sure that is on there now. So if you want to put right back in here is where you put the extra part of the transmission that makes it have dig. This gives you a lot of opportunities, but you start off, this transmission is better than this transmission, in my opinion. Now you go over here and now you can see the difference. Here's that part. So you see this is open. This is the extra part of the transmission you can get because here's the dig. But now, let me tell you, comparing this truck to this truck. So let's do a little swapperoo right here. And this will be it, guys. This will be, Mike, this will be the final part of it. So this transmission, you have to tear it apart to do it. Whoa, where am I at? Right over here. You have to tear it apart to make that work. You have to buy an additional dig servo or an additional one of these micro servos. This dig, you need to have a proper 3-position switch so you can turn it off. You have to be able to turn that completely off because if your trims are wrong, it will smoke. So all this work, the Phoenix gives you the option. This is one that I put, you take two $30, $40 servos. So this one's hooked up to the dig. This one is hooked up to the overdrive, which is underneath here. Down here, there's an arm. So, wait a minute. What am I doing here? Where is that other? Oh, my bad. Here. That's the steering servo up front there. So you got this shifter for the overdrive. You got this servo for the dig. But meanwhile, you can buy this Phoenix and use the, what is it? It's a 6% overdrive, 33% overdrive, or you can disconnect the front wheel so you'd have 2-wheel drive. Meanwhile, to use the 2-speed, you have to buy servos, do all this doodaddy stuff here. Same thing with the dig. If it does not work, you basically use the servo to lock it out, or you can rig up something. This, let me see if we can see it here. So right there, you've got the shift for the dig. You can completely not use those arms and take the servos out, and there's 2 grub screws, one here, one there. You can lock this overdrive. Oh, that's the overdrive. Wait. No, that's the dig. I'm confused. Whatever. So you can use all 3 of these positions with just a grub screw. And it's the same way with the other side. So you've got your grub screws. You can use all those functions just by doing a grub screw. So you can get the Phoenix because it's going to come without these servos. But you still have access to all the functions that it provides. You know, you can try 6%. Let me try something else. You can try these functions, not dig, of course. You're not going to screw around with the dig function, but that just is another level of tunability that the Phoenix gives you, and the Fordyce gives you over, because the Phoenix and the Fordyce are both the same. They both come with the ability to upgrade. The Fordyce, you have to buy a part. Phoenix, you don't. You can still use those overdrive. I mean, how cool would it be to go ripping around? The Phoenix, I keep saying the Phoenix. The Fordyce has got a 35-turn motor just like the Axial does, but the Axial is nowhere near as peppy. It amazes me how quick the Phoenix and Fordyce are compared to then they instantly crawl like a friggin' little baby. So the gearing is awesome. You don't need a 2-speed. So, Mike, we got to some rambling. I hope some of this is helpful. And for the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed the pointer. Like I said, this was just the kind of question that is not quick and easy answer in the comment section. So, anyone else, let's help Mike out. You know, throw out any more of your opinions on the the CJ7 versus the Vanquishes, and hopefully we can lead him straight the way he wants to go. For everyone else, thanks for stopping in. Like and subscribe if you want to. Tell me how long-winded and annoying this video was, and I will talk to you on the next one.